there's always something about how he plays it that makes you want to root for him, you know?
Yeah.
Characters are not perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
But you still root for
Exactly.
him to come out on top. What's up, everybody? I'm Rick.
And I'm Anna, and welcome to our review of the 1934 movie, The House of Rothschild. For those of you who are new here, hi, welcome. Please subscribe to this channel, which is dedicated to Rick and mine bucket list of 101 goals and dreams that we hope to accomplish in our lifetime. And one of those goals for us is to watch every movie nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards from 1927 until 2028. That is 101 years of Academy Award Best Picture nominees and their respective winners.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of movies. And we are still pretty early on, actually. We are currently at 1934, the year 1934, which is the 7th Academy Award year, but it is the 8th year that we are reviewing because we've also done 2019. And to this day, we have watched and reviewed on this channel 50 movies and discussed one lost movie. So for those of you who don't know, this review will go the way it always does. They always do. The first part will be a spoiler-free section in which we will discuss the movie, give our top-level appreciation without spoiling the movie for you if you haven't watched it. So don't worry, you can stay for that whole part. And the second part will be spoiler-filled, meaning that we will deep dive into certain scenes, certain elements of the movie that piqued our interest in particular. But don't worry, if you haven't watched this movie and you don't want to get spoiled for it, we will warn you before we get to the spoiler-filled section. And at that point, you can either leave this video or better yet, you can go to the timestamp in the description box below and jump at the end of the video where we have the ranking section.
The ranking.
Yes. So for every year of the Academy Award, we do a ranking of the movies nominated that respective year. So right now it will be the ranking of the 1934 Best Picture nominated movies, according to our
our
opinion,
personal taste.
Right. That being said, let's get into the review of this movie. But before all of that, let's start with some information about the movie. The trivia section.
Hit me with that information, Anna.
The House of Rothschild is a 20th century production film, came out on April 7, 1934. It was directed by Alfred L. Worker and Sidney Lanfield, who was uncredited as the director of this film.
Two directors?
Yes. I couldn't really find information about it. Why were there two directors and one of them was uncredited? The movie stars George Arliss as Mayor Rothschild and Nathan Rothschild, whom we've seen before in Disraeli.
Disraeli, yeah, of course.
Right, playing the main character. Also stars Boris Karloff as Count Ledranz, whom we've also seen before in 5-Star Final.
Yeah, it's Frankenstein.
Yeah, we haven't seen that movie, but we know that information too. Loretta Young as Julie Rothschild, Robert Young as Captain Fitzroy, Florence Arliss as Hannah Rothschild, whom we've also seen before in Disraeli.
And it's the wife of George in real life.
Yes, the wife of the actor who plays the main character. Big cast for this movie. It was actually a challenge to pick the actors that I thought appeared more because it was a pretty big cast for this movie. The movie had a great reception when it came out. It was 20th Century Picture Best Film of the Year.
Impressive.
Yeah, quite impressive. And it got one Academy Award nomination for Best Picture. Some interesting facts about the movie. So while nearly all the film is in black and white, the final sequence was one of the first shots in 3-strip Technicolor process. I found some information unconfirmed that it's actually the first shot filmed like this.
With that technique?
But there was another movie that was filmed afterwards but came out before it. So technically it's not the first movie released like that, but it's the first shot filmed.
But with that
like
specific
that.
technique, because there was Technicolor before we didn't
Yes, with that specific technique, with the new technology. Some more interesting information about this movie. George Arliss asked Warner Brothers to buy the rights for this movie. While he was under contract with them in 1931, Warner's bought the rights but did not make the film. Later, when Arliss left Warner Brothers, he convinced another producer from 20th Century Picture to buy the rights from Warner Brothers, and then the film was eventually made.
So he really wanted to make that movie, yeah?
This is actually a passion project of this actor. The film was mainly made because he insisted so much that he wanted to play that role. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Right? I think so.
He has a passion for playing Jewish character, I guess.
So that is it for the information that I have about this movie. So without further ado, let's jump into our spoiler-free review of this film. So, Rick, without spoiling this movie, can you tell me and our audience what did you think about it?
What did I think about it? I liked it. I enjoyed the movie. It was interesting to see how the whole thing would unfold, and a bit like with Disraeli, a lot of it has to do with George's performance as the main character, and there's always something about how he plays it that makes you want to root for him, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's always very exciting when things are going his way and you're like, oh yes, and things are not going his way, like, oh no, I hope this situation gets resolved. And so it brings you in a lot more.
Yeah, he manages to make every character that we've seen so far very likable.
Yeah.
In general.
Definitely.
Without necessarily being over righteous, or his characters, in this movie in particular, his character is like a very practical character.
Yeah, characters are not perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
But you still root for him to come out on top.
So I think that's very interesting. Mm-hmm. I also really liked it, even if there were parts of the movie that I really didn't understand because of the technical, aspect of it.
Like what they were talking about, the subject
matters.
Yeah,
exactly, the subjects. There were things that really escaped me, and I had to pause and ask you for explanation, wait, what does this mean? I don't understand what's happening right now. But even then, I really thought it was very interesting to watch. I like this kind of historical movies.
Yeah, because I guess we didn't mention this is...
it's a real story, right? I mean...
The Rothschild,
the House of Rothschild is actually a known institution.
Yeah, so I don't know their story in detail, so I'm not sure how much of this movie is historically accurate.
Well, we will talk about that a little bit when we get to the spoiler field section.
Oh, okay.
But just maybe for the purpose of informing you and the public right now in the spoiler-free section, it is pretty accurate, historically speaking.
Okay.
There are certain changes, because a movie has to be, a movie. Yeah, but there aren't any major, differences.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. So, let's talk a little bit more in detail. Story-wise?
Yeah, so, like I was saying, the story, it's a pretty simple story, if you consider what's at the core of it. But it's a story that, engaged me from the beginning to the end, and it's mainly because of the characters, the story that revolves a lot around the character, the main character especially. So I enjoyed it.
I particularly like the story because I felt the realism in it.
Yeah.
All the elements that come into play to lead the characters on their way to drive the action, it feels realistic. Because it is based on real events.
Yeah.
And you could definitely feel it in the movie, and I thought that was great. I guess performance-wise, we already mentioned Arliss' performance.
Which is not to take anything away from anybody else who was in the movie. I thought they all did a good job, especially some of the more adversary characters that were playing against him. Wellington, whoever played Wellington, I thought was good too. But it's just that he steals the show, whenever
he
he's
does.
there.
Yeah, his way of playing just blinds you almost.
Yeah.
Blinds the other characters a little bit. It's
so you only see him, when there's a scene.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch him. I really liked it. What about the way the movie looked, the look and sound of the movie? Well, the look, we already talked a little bit about that Technicolor scene.
Yeah, throughout most of the movie, it's normal, it's just many of the movies we've seen in the 30s. Looks good. And then there's that colored scene at the end. And the technology was new. It's not the
best looking scene, or...
yeah, exactly. There's some spot with colors, some without, it kind of varies.
When they shot a close-up of his face and some other characters around. I thought that actually looked better than the
Remote like pan out. Yeah.
image.
And so, they were at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
Can you really fault them? Like, it's interesting to see the color, but
Right.
I'm guessing it might have been a big talking point back then.
Yeah.
But now you look at it and you're like, I would have just left the rest in black and white,
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't necessarily add to the movie.
Yeah.
It just adds, for the historical fact that it is one of or possibly the first shot taken with this technology. And I thought I don't know, it gives me this kind of a feeling of, oh, this is history, watching something like this.
Yeah, I don't really feel it because it's just a variant on a technique they were already using, We saw in even, to Broadway Melody of 1929, there was a Technicolor scene. They've been doing that for a while, but just refining, coming up with new techniques. And so I don't really feel the historical, big historical element, because usually that's when the first one, the first time they ever used color at all, then you could say, oh, wow. Not to take away from what they were trying to do. I think it's interesting. I don't think it adds anything. And I think if it wasn't there, I wouldn't complain.
I guess we should end this section by telling our public, do we recommend this movie?
Yeah, I recommend it. It's a fun movie. Go watch it.
I recommend it too, yeah. I thought it was great. I stand by my opinion that for the history of cinema, it is, maybe a milestone movie to watch. So it would be it's an interesting addition to your list of movies if you're interested in this kind of movies. So yeah, definitely go watch it. Before we move on, I want to remind everyone that if you don't want to stay for the spoiler-filled section, you can go to the timestamp in the description box below and go directly at the end of this video to the ranking section. As for us, let's go to the spoiler-filled section. Let's start this section by giving a synopsis of the story. The wealthy Rothschild family undergoes prejudice from the anti-Semitic society they live within. That is it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Right. So before we talk about the scenes and the movie, things that interested us, maybe I could give some more information about the movie. So first of all, one major historical inaccuracy within the movie is that in reality, Nathan Rothschild is not the eldest son of the family, but the third born.
Oh, okay.
However, he is the one who made the most fortune of the five brothers.
Mm-hmm. Fun fact, Nathan Rothschild was at one time said to be the wealthiest man on earth.
I actually was going to say that next.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Another interesting information, and I guess now we will jump into one of the scenes of the movie. So that scene at the end, when he's at the stock market, buying bonds when everybody else was selling.
Yeah.
In the 19th century, a story came up accusing Nathan Rothschild of having had prior knowledge of the finality of the Battle of Waterloo, after which he went to the stock market and started buying when everybody else was selling. So he didn't do it to support the government and neither on speculation. It is said that he actually knew the outcome of the war before everyone else. And he used that information to make a fortune.
Yeah, early kind of insider trading.
It hasn't been proved wrong or right. It is not clear. It is known that he did find out the outcome of the battle before everyone else, but it is not known exactly at which point, and it is not known exactly how much that influenced
his decision
to buy or sell, because he was already buying at that point. However, the fact of him becoming the richest man in the world, or supposedly the richest man in the world at one point, started in that moment. Yes, that is some interesting information that I had. So let's talk about some scenes of the movie. Where would you like to start?
Or maybe I'm gonna jump on this general topic here.
Okay.
To maybe because I generally love the movie, but if there was one thing to be said, what they do here with Nathan Rothschild and his dad is, even though, he does have some flaw in the movie, most of the time is portrayed very glowingly. And I feel like somehow somebody who makes that amount of money must be a bit more cutthroat, you know?
Yeah.
Well, he is cunning during the movie. Like, he uses strategy to undergo his opponent. But they're the bad guys, and he's always the good guy, you know, in any situation. And I'm not sure that in reality that's always the case, you know? I feel like
Yeah,
he's...
I see what you mean. Like, that aspect of his character doesn't feel as realistic.
Yeah.
The fact that he's so, like, righteous and,
Exactly.
you know...
Like, we're gonna support the Allies and this war, not because we're gonna make money out of it, but because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
like that kind of...
a banker who makes a fortune and becomes the richest man in the world would not become that on this kind of a mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, I mean, again, it's a movie, so that aspect of it is probably put in just for the movie.
Overplayed, yeah.
Yeah.
Because mostly I would see it, you know, in most cases as a calculated risk, you know. Someone who makes that kind of gamble, okay, I'm gonna gamble on the Allies against Napoleon, even though everybody else thinks Napoleon will win, is that if I win, I'm gonna make so much money. You know, that's usually, that would have felt more realistic as a train of thought, in my opinion, than, oh no, even if we're bankrupt by the end of this, we have to do it. I somehow don't believe...
Because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I somehow don't believe he would have said that.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that I would like to talk about is, and only because it's the second time we see this pair on screen, Arliss and his wife.
Yeah.
Like the way they play together.
It's an interesting idea to have the couple play the couple, you know, a real life couple play a movie couple several times too. Because in both movies you always kind of feel the love they have for each other.
Yeah, you do, definitely. And I saw it in the first movie too, and here it comes back in the same way. It's interesting that the wife's role, in both cases, but we're talking about this movie here. So the wife, Hannah, she's not a major character in the movie. She just appears here and there, but I feel like her touches are always just like perfect, you know, to accompany his character.
Yeah.
I feel like that comes out of really knowing your on-screen partner.
I mean, they have incredible chemistry, of course.
Yeah.
They're married in real life.
Exactly.
And they play off of each other really well. And the movie, and story-wise too, because she's often there to support him and to like nudge him into the right track.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, whenever he does something that maybe, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. Your daughter wants to marry this guy. Maybe you should let her do what she wants, you know, she knows. Yeah, I think they play really well off of each other. Big thematic element of the movie, I guess, that maybe we should touch on is this whole, you know, Jewish and anti-Semitism thing, which a lot of the opponents to the main character are opponents simply because of the fact that he's Jewish, you know. They don't like him, they take away contracts from him, they pay people to, you know, basically revolt and stir the pot against Jewish people. The whole theme you see throughout the movie is that it starts with the dad about the tax collector asking him for ridiculous sums of money, and then it continues on with the kids.
Even early on in the movie they mentioned the fact that they cannot learn a trade, they cannot like own land, like all of these, you know, oppressions against them, which I thought was very interesting because the story of the movie takes place at the end of the 18th, beginning of the 19th century. And I really was not that much aware that things like this were so, you know, prominent even in those times.
Oh no, anti-Semitism has been there for a long time.
Yes, obviously, I knew that, but I thought that these more like harsh measures taken against them were a little bit, you know... Later, no. Yeah.
Hitler did not invent this. And I guess one of the things, you know, I mentioned earlier that, how can he be so righteous all the time? And even at the end, even though he says to his brother that we have to accept to help the Allies no matter the cost because we have to stop war, he still uses the fact that the other bankers and the other people who control the finance of different countries don't know that he's willing to help them no matter what, to try to get something out of it.
Yeah. Another element that I thought we could talk about is the evolution of the story and the characters, or rather maybe should I say lack of evolution. Not in the sense that the characters like don't feel you know, complex enough, but you just don't really see it. The story starts with the family when the Rothschild brothers are young, and then it just jumps directly into like the time when they're already wealthy and fairly powerful. And then there's that like period of time surrounding the war in which the story happens. Exactly. So you don't really see the characters evolving that much.
Yeah, like frankly, when the movie started and, you know, the dad, Rothschild, was telling them, Mayers was his name?
Yeah.
Like how to build the business, which was very on the nose, you know?
Yeah.
You should build a bank in this city and you in that city.
Right.
Like, I'm not sure it really happened like that, but okay. And when he was telling them that, I thought the movie would be them growing the business up until the point where, you know, it starts kicking off and then the rest is history, you know?
Right, I thought so too, and that doesn't really,
No,
you don't really see.
We skipped that whole part to the point where, okay, we're already rich, we're already successful, but there's still a pushback because of the fact that we're Jewish. But in terms of growth, so mainly for the main character, Nathan, the only growth, like from the beginning to the end of the movie, character-wise for him, is his opinion towards like his daughter's engagement.
Right.
To which at the end he just reluctantly just approves, you know?
So I couldn't find information about his daughter's engagement, but I did find information about the real family, the Rothschild family. Apparently the women, the daughters of the family, only marry within the family because of a rule established by Nathan Rothschild that says that any women who marry outside the family don't have the right to any inheritance.
Oh.
In order to keep the wealth within the family.
Within the family? When you say within the family, what do you mean? The cousins are marrying each other?
So apparently all of Nathan's grandchildren married each other.
Brothers and sisters?
No, married like other cousins.
Okay. Yeah,
right, sorry. So no, they're not married each other. So his grandchildren married their cousins. So the grandchildren of his other brothers.
Yeah. So if you take that into consideration, I doubt that in real life there was even that.
Yeah,
evolution.
I couldn't find any information about that marriage, if it happened or not.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, that's the only point in the movie in which there's a change in his character from the beginning and the end. Other than that, he's the same at the beginning than he is at the end. You know, he's essentially the same character even throughout the tribulation and the challenges that arises. And not that there's anything bad with that. You know, not every movie is about a character starting somewhere and being something completely different at the end. But it just, you know, sometimes it makes for a more interesting story to have that growth
it's
arc.
true. But this movie was obviously focused on that period of time, on that particular story in Nathan's, life. But I feel like the way it started, it gives you the desire to see him getting there.
To see the growth, the impression that that's
exactly.
what I'm going to see. You know, those kids becoming the empire that they become. But no, they skip that whole growth process and then.
But that's not. I don't see necessarily as a bad thing. It's just like maybe a little thing, something that is lacking there.
That's what they wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we should mention once more that I do recommend this movie.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So that is that. And let us now move on to the ranking section. So the ranking of the 1934 Best Picture Academy Awards nominees as of now is at number 5, Here Comes the Navy, number 4, Flirtation Walk, number 3, Cleopatra, number 2, The Barretts of Wimpole Street, and number 1, The Gay Divorcee.
Okay.
Where does this movie stand?
I feel like maybe number 3.
Number 3?
Yeah, that's where I would go. Oh, what are you thinking about here?
I was actually thinking number 2.
Number 2?
Yeah, but I wasn't that sure about it. I feel like both The Barretts of Wimpole Street and The House of Rothschild, being historical movies, have I feel like they have a similar kind of vibe about them.
Yeah, that's true.
Character-wise and story-wise. So I don't really have an argument of why I would have put The House of Rothschild above it, but...
Yeah, you know, now that I think about it, they're very similar, huh?
They are, and I feel like they have a similar approach to how they present this like historical, story.
Yeah.
Like real life story. And they're also both like family stories, right? So that's also something interesting. But yeah, I don't know.
You know, in both cases, like one of my highlight for The Barretts of Wimpole Street was always the performance of Charles as the role of the dad. And if I compare this to George here, I might give it to George. I might give it to Rothschild as number 2, yeah.
But what about story-wise? I feel like story-wise, The Barretts of Wimpole Street was...
You think it was stronger story-wise?
I think it was
There's
lighter.
more of a...
I feel like this story was more complicated, The House of Rothschild. And I feel like it could have used some like elements here and there to tie together a little bit better. Not that it was an issue, but
you know what? I'm going back on my thing. Keep it as number 3 for me because I feel like there's also more of an arc for the characters.
in
And the Barrett of Wimpole Street,
okay.
Norma's character, mainly, who is the main character? The dad is the antagonist, so he has not the arc that you'd wish for him to have. But for the other characters, I feel like there's more of an evolution throughout the movie.
Right.
While Nathan Rothschild, here played by George, is essentially the same character he is at the beginning and at the end.
Yeah, you don't really see him becoming the man that he is at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That's not to say that it's not an interesting story to watch, like his part of his life story. But yeah, it's true, you don't really see that evolution. Yeah.
Which makes a movie interesting on another layer, you know? So just for that, I might give it to the Barretts over. Oh yeah, okay. Number 3 for me.
Well, I will go with it. Like I said, I was just debating with myself because I kept going back and forth. So yeah, I will go with it. The House of Rothschild at number 3. So the new ranking for the 1934 Academy Award Best Picture nominated movies is at number 6, Here Comes the Navy. At number 5, Flotation Walk. At number 4, Cleopatra. Number 3, The House of Rothschild. Number 2, The Barretts of Wimpole Street. And number 1, The Gay Divorcee. Yay.
There you go. Job well done. Unless you don't agree with us.
So that was it for our review of the 1934 movie, The Barretts of Wimpole Street. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget that this channel is not all about reviewing movies. It's a bucket list channel in which Rick and I try to accomplish the goals and dreams that are on our bucket list. So many of them, and we make videos about all of them that include things like cooking, self-growth, learning new things, travel. So make sure not to miss those. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Also, leave a comment. Tell us what you thought of this movie. And have a nice day.
Bye.
In this agreement, they would lose their chains. They would have the right to follow any trade, to own land, to live with respect, and remember what our father said, Mama? To walk the world with dignity.